Speaking of week 17, here we are. Here we are. It's the final week of the regular season. It's win or go home for many teams. And for some teams, well, they're just like, fuck it. It's our last game. It's our last game of the season. And it's just like, let's just get this over with. So either way, it's win or go home for many teams in the NFL. Who's getting into the playoffs and who's getting into who's getting that short end of the stick. Who's gonna be that one team that gets so desperate they just want to see the other team fail and fail and fail. There's gonna be a lot of thrillers, and there's gonna be even blowouts that cost teams their playoff lives. We're gonna see all of that. We're gonna see all of these playoff game, like all these playoff implications on the line in the final week of the. Hold on. I'm getting a call from somebody from I don't know. This is some random number, but I'll answer this. Hello. Wait, you're telling me that this isn't the last week of the regular season? There's something called a week 18. Wait, how come you didn't tell me this? Are you for real? Week 18. I know I've been saying this has been the biggest regular season ever. I know they've been marketing this. How come nobody told me this? This is not the last week of the regular season. What? Okay, all right. Thank you. Bye. Okay then. Well, then welcome to the last week of the regular season, part 1. Part 1! Well, with 2 weeks left in the regular season, the playoff picture is getting much clearer and thinner. 4 teams have clinched their divisions, and nearly half of the playoff field is all filled up. Congratulations to the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, the Tampa Bay Bucks, the LA Rams, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Kansas City Chiefs. But only half of your work is done, because all of those teams are fighting for seeding at this point. Last week consisted of blowout city for pretty much half of the games and upset valley. This week it's probably going to be no different, as as much of the things I said just earlier is going to happen. Desperation, blowouts, upsets, close games, playoff lives on the line this week. And there are a lot of playoff teams still alive. There's teams with playoff hopes trying to get in, whether it's like realistic or very stupid. There's always going to be that one game that has at least one team that's well out of the playoff picture trying to play spoiler. So there's going to be that one team that tries to avoid that one spoiler team, that one trap game in these last 2 games. So welcome to week 17, the last week of the regular season. Part uno. Yes, it is. So anyway, we got some playoff clinching scenarios as always. In this last week of the regular season, part uno. So things get a little more intense in this one. In the AFC side of things, for the Indianapolis Colts, it is simple. You win your game and you're in. You're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, and all you have to do is beat them and you're in. But it gets a little tricky because you may not have Carson Wentz in this one. And I'll explain when we do the picks. But for now, as we're talking playoff clinching scenarios, the Colts, they could still be in play for the AFC South. But if the Tennessee Titans beat the Dolphins this week, well, all hope of that dies. So the Colts are going to be huge Dolphins and Texans fans for the next 2 weeks. So speaking of the Titans, all they have to do this week is beat the Dolphins, and the AFC South is all but theirs. The Bills, they can't clinch the AFC East quite yet, but all they have to do, take care of business against the Falcons, and take care of business against the Jets, and well, the AFC East is yours. But for now, this week, they can clinch at least their playoff spot if they beat the Falcons, and the beat up Ravens lose to the Rams, and their playoff spot is theirs. The Pats can get their own playoff spot with the win against the Jaguars, and the Dolphins lose to the Titans. So these playoff spots are coming at a rapid pace this week. The Bengals, like I mentioned earlier, they can wrap up the AFC North if they manage an upset over the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be tough, but it's there. The Chiefs, they can get the top seed in the AFC if they beat the Bengals, and the Titans, they fall in an upset to the Dolphins. I mean, any given Sunday, but you never know. On the NFC side of things, the Green Bay Packers, they can clinch their own top seed in the NFC if they beat the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football, and the Dallas Cowboys get upset by the Arizona Cardinals early in the day. The Arizona Cardinals, they've fallen right into Rams' hands because, if LA beats the Ravens, and then later on the Cards fall into the Cowboys trap, the NFC West is all LA's. The Philadelphia Eagles this week, all the trials and tribulations that they went through early in the season, and all the hard work that they went through this half of the season, it can be rewarded if they beat Washington, and then they see the Minnesota Vikings lose on Sunday night, and then they also see either the Saints and the Falcons lose, or they also see the 49ers beat the Houston Texans. So a combination of either one of those things. It gets a little dicey for the Philadelphia Eagles, but I think either one of those things could possibly happen. Now for my 49ers. Yes. The 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo or with Trey Lance can sadly make their backdoor entrance into the playoffs and towards their way to an MVP. Yes, Nickelodeon's Most Valuable Player Award. And they can make that official if they beat the Houston Texans and the Saints somehow lose to the Carolina Panthers. Yes. Yeah, that backdoor entrance could all be official this week. So anyway, elimination. Who doesn't love to see a team have their playoff hopes die at the hands of another team? Just ask the Seahawks. Just ask the Seattle Seahawks last week. So by now, the Seahawks have already joined the Jaguars, the Lions, the Texans, the Giants, the Jets, and the Bears, and the Panthers on the deathbed of playoff hopes. So who gets to join them this week? Well, if Washington and Atlanta lose their games, it's lose and you're gone for them. Meanwhile, the Vikings are donezo if they lose also, and the Eagles beat Washington, and the Saints also lose. And it's going to be interesting for them. So, if the Saints also lose their game somehow to the Panthers, and the Niners and the Eagles win, well, the Saints are also donezo. So those are your playoff clinching scenarios for the week. And it's going to be a lot of these things, in my opinion, could possibly happen. But then again, any given Sunday. So that being said, let's get into my picks for this coming week, week 17, the last week of the regular season, part one. So we get into the Sunday slate of games. No Thursday Night Football? Oh man, that sucks. That's a bummer. So let's get into the Sunday slate of games, starting with the early morning action. The Philadelphia Eagles at 8-7 take on the Washington Football Team 6-9. Coming off the heels of an embarrassing Sunday night game where the Washington Football Team was trounced by 42 points. Man, it won't get any better, to be honest with you. Taylor Heineke has completely regressed, and there's ever since Chase Young was injured. I mean, sure, the Washington defense has looked good at times, but that was against terrible teams. You were playing Dallas, a really good team. And Philadelphia has gotten much better in the weeks gone by. And yes, the surging Philadelphia squad will eliminate the football team from contention for good. The LA Rams take on the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson is trending towards playing as of right now. Don't quote me on that, but I don't. Even if he does play, whether or not he does play, whether it's Tyler Huntley or Josh Johnson or Lamar Jackson, I think Jackson alone won't be able to overcome the many injuries on defense that the Rams offense is going to completely exploit. Like, my God, this Rams team is probably going to head towards another massacre on the Ravens. The Tampa Bay Bucks take on the New York Jets, and what else do I really need to say? It's Tom Brady against the Jets. It's just a different uniform. I mean, what more do I need to say? It's Tampa Bay's game. The Miami Dolphins take on the Tennessee Titans in an important game for both teams. You know, it's a tough test awaiting for both of these teams. You know, both of their defenses are pretty strong. It's a tough one to call, but I'm actually kind of leaning towards an upset. You know, if the offensive line can hold up for the Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa can air it out to his guys like Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki. If they can get the ground game going with what's his name? I don't know. the running back, Myles Gaskin. There we go. The Dolphins can actually win this one and, you know, make their case for one last playoff push. And I know, as unrealistic as that sounds, you know, never say never in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars take on the New England Patriots. Do I need to say anything else about this one? I mean, the Pats, sure, they've been running into a wall since coming off their Week 14 bye, but this is a get right game, I guess, since against an all elite Jaguars team that just lost James Robinson to an Achilles injury. Yeah, nothing more to say about New England winning against Jacksonville. The Las Vegas Raiders take on the Indianapolis Colts. This is an important game for both teams because, you know, it's pretty much it's playoff or bust for the Raiders, and the Colts are just trying to solidify their spot into the postseason. So the Raiders, you know, they had a decent win against the Denver Broncos. Granted, the Denver Broncos suck ass, and the Raiders' run defense was actually made to look like gods against Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, but yeah, don't expect the same thing against Johnny Taylor, whether or not Carson Wentz is going to be out of this game. So, yeah, I think that's the only issue for the Colts is Carson Wentz. Will he play this game? I mean, yeah, the protocols have been adjusted so that Wentz could possibly come back in time for this game. But, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen for with Wentz in this one. So, whether or not Wentz plays, I think the Colts will still win this one. The Kansas City Chiefs take on the Cincinnati Bengals and perhaps will probably be, you know, the game of the day. And this is going to be a litmus test for the Bengals to see if they can prove their worth against the best of the best. And, you know, that comes in the form of a red hot Chiefs team that's been playing well on both sides of the ball. And sure, you know, the Chiefs offense has been relying on more than just Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. They've been spreading the ball around. And, you know, this Chiefs team, they could probably get Travis Kelce back, and even if they don't get him back, they can practically almost run away with this game against the Bengals. I think, you know, experience will outweigh recency against the Bengals, and these Chiefs will outlast them in a dogfight. It's going to be a shootout in this one. So the Chiefs will beat the Bengals and, you know, prevent them from clinching the AFC North for at least 1 week. So the New York Giants take on the Chicago Bears. Yes, Blue G-Men will take on Bears football. Yes, the Week 17 matchup that we've all been waiting for. So I guess the only advantage the Bears have to winning this meaningless game, and I know the Schleg Daddy doesn't want them to win a meaningless game, and I don't want them to either, because the Bears, you know, they should be on track to firing Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace and their stupid presidents. But I don't know, can you be as bad as the New York Giants? I don't think you couldn't be as bad as the Seahawks were last week. You know, you have Justin Fields, and even if you don't have him, you have sick fails. And the Giants, what do they have? All they have is Saquon. That's it. So I don't know. Give me the Bears. The Atlanta Falcons travel to take on the Buffalo Bills, and this is going to be an important game for both teams. Yes, it's a pseudo important game. You know, the Bills are going to try to continue to build on that momentum and control the AFC East, and the Falcons, you know, this is their week where they have to win this game. You know, they have to try to pull off an upset or they're out of playoff contention. So the Bills, in my mind, are going to continue to build that momentum and probably crush the Falcons unless, they choke it up. And they'll probably put the Falcons out for good in their playoff hopes. In the afternoon slate of games, the Houston Texans. Yes, these Houston Texans that coming off a upset over the LA Clippers travel to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. This game, if you asked a couple weeks ago, people have been saying, oh, we can win this game guaranteed. This is a preseason game for the 49ers. But as it stands now, this game is as unpredictable as it gets. The Texans coming off one of the biggest upsets of the year, blowing out the Clippers, and the Niners not just coming off a dud in Tennessee, but they may not have Jimmy Garoppolo with a thumb sprain. And sure, Jimmy G said he'll play through it. His thumb injury is not going to require surgery, but I'm not sure if that's a smart move. Just ask Russell Wilson, ask Taysom Hill how that's going. And I'm not sure Kyle Shanahan wants to go through with that, especially with 2 games left in the regular season. And whether or not he plays, I think he'll have negative results. So enter Trey time. Trey Lance time, baby. So I know this game is one the Niners can't sleep on anymore. But, even with the playoffs at stake, the focus should have always been on the development of Trey. So it should honestly be an interesting one, but I think somehow, some way, no matter what way you put it, the Texans will Texans. They'll find a way to fuck this up. And, this game, I think it'll show the flashes of Trey Lance's potential. If he plays this game, that's if he starts this game. And the Niners will grind out this win somehow, some way. So the Denver Broncos travel to LA to take on the Clippers. Clippering it up. The Chargers, they should be getting mostly everyone, most of their starters back from the COVID list. And they host the terrible and offensively challenged Denver Broncos. And who's going to be starting? Drew Lock again. Yeah, Drew Lock is the shit. And I don't mean that in a good way. And, Denver should be taken care of by the Chargers as they bounce back from a 2-game losing streak. The Carolina Panthers take on the New Orleans Saints in a game that I don't understand why it's in this late game window, but for whatever reason it is. The Panthers are turning back to Sam Darnold. Yes, no more Cam time, no more Super Cam in not New Orleans, in Carolina. But this is at a time where their defense is landing on the COVID list while the Saints are getting everybody back from that same list in a time where they desperately need them. Like, the Saints are getting closer to getting eliminated from playoff contention, as I mentioned earlier. And, this Panthers defense is probably going to get run over by the Saints, no matter what how you slice it or dice it. The Saints are going to win this game. So then we have the Detroit Lions taking on the Seattle Seahawks in possibly Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson's last games as on the Seahawks, possibly, as they'll probably put on one last show against a terrible Lions team. The Arizona Cardinals take on the Dallas Cowboys in another big game of the week. The Cardinals, their cold streak is probably going to continue against the Big D. It's the Big D in Dallas, as they'll probably ride over this Cardinals team. They'll probably ride this big wave of momentum all over a struggling Arizona team. So give me the Cowboys in this one. Then in the Sunday night game, the Minnesota Vikings take on the Green Bay Packers, which probably has, again, blowout written all over it, because no matter how desperate, no matter how aggressive the Vikings want to be, and aggressive is probably conservative equals conservative in Kirk Cousins' mind. The Vikings will try to make him do that for once in his life. However, I don't think it'll be enough to tower the might of Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, and pretty much the entire Packers offense, as you know, the Packers will put the last nail in Minnesota's coffin and their playoff hopes. So the Packers are going to eliminate the Minnesota Vikings for playoff contention for good. Then in the Monday Night Football game, the Cleveland Browns take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, the last Monday Night Football game of the season, and it's going to be an AFC North rivalry. Yes, this is one that consists of the leader of men, the washed-ass leader of men, Big Ben. It could be his last home game as a Pittsburgh Steeler and possibly his last home game ever, before he rides off into the sunset after Week 18. But first things first, as much as Big Ben and the Steelers want to put on one last show, possibly before Big Ben could possibly retire after the season. I think the skid marks will find a way to win this one. And, first many interceptions that Baker Mayfield has thrown this season, and especially last week, he'll find a way to win this one. He'll find a way to win this one somehow, some way, in very ugly football. So those are my picks for Week 17, the final week of the regular season, Part Uno. The prelude, the preview, I guess you could call it the pre-show to Week 18, the final week of the regular season. So, yeah, those are my picks for Week 17. You can go against them. You can support them. But let me know who you're going with in Week 17, however you can.